Welcome to the Circle Project. This gives you an opportunity to practice what you've learned. So if we look at the Circle Project, you need to locate the center of the circle on your landscape or in your yard. There's one labeled A, there's one labeled B. You choose the appropriate one. And if you remember to find in order to find the center of a circle, you are going to need to draw two chords. So I'm going to choose this chord. You can draw any, and I'm going to do another one. All right, you're going to need a compass for this part, and in order to find the center, you're going to need to do the perpendicular bisector of each chord. We learned this in the beginning of the year. This is an excellent opportunity to practice what you've already learned, since we do have an EOC coming up this semester, sometime in April or May. So I am finding this perpendicular bisector, and I'm going to draw my line. And as you can tell, it's not everything good. Getting closer. We're almost there. Right. So there is one. Now every point on this line is equidistant from these 2 points. So if I come over here and do something similar, a perpendicular bisector, I believe that's open over half. And I were to draw in this perpendicular bisector, you want to do it until they intersect. This right here is the center of my circle, because on this line, this point is equidistant from those 2 points. This is equidistant from those 2, which basically makes it a radius. So I'm going to label this point C, as it told me to do. So I have just completed part 1 of this project. And there we go. All right, so this is the center is C. All right, please do not erase the chords. Do not erase these arcs, because this is the only way I'm going to know that you did it accurately, is by seeing those chords and those arcs. Now, if you want to make this line dotted, you certainly can do that, because what we have to do now is we have to draw in some sectors. So I'll make this line dotted, and I'll make this line dotted, and I'll make sure that we know where our center is. From here, you make either 3 or 4 or up to 6 sectors. So and these would be pieces that you might decide to landscape, maybe one with flowers, one with something else. So I did 5. All right, so now you need to choose one of these sectors to work with. So I believe I'm going to work with this top one. So I'm going to highlight it, because that's the only way I'm going to know which one you're using. So that's the sector that I'm going to work with. So that's the beginning of part 2. Now I need to measure this angle, so in order to measure the angle, I'm going to need a protractor. So I'm going to rotate my protractor, try to get this point right there on the center. I'm going to adjust this. I need to rotate this. All right. So now I'm going to come up here, and this appears to be Now, when we go to measure, do I start counting at 100 or I just start counting at 0? Which would be the wrong scale to read, so I need to read this scale. So that looks like it's going to be 87 degrees. So for part 2A, my central angle is 87 degrees. All right, then from here on 2B, I'm supposed to convert. So if you recall, 87 degrees times pi over 180 degrees gives me 87 pi over 180. There is my radian measure. All right? So now that I'm in radian measure, I want you to use radian measure to find the area of the circle. So if you recall, area of a circle formula is 1/2 theta r squared, where our, and I need a radius. So I'm going to have to, let's go back up to part A. I've done my protractor, so I'm going to get rid of my protractor. Maybe. I'll move it out of the way. I'm going to move it. All right. I need a ruler, so let me go get my ruler. So I need to rotate this, and I know I can. So it's taking me a while. There we go. I need to measure my radius. I'm going to measure it in 1/8 of an inch, because remember, 1/8 of an inch is a foot. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eighths, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.5 eighths. So my radius is equal to 13.5 eighths inches. All right. So I needed to measure my central angle and my radius. All right, so I've done this conversion. Let me get a different color. Now I'm going to convert my radius into feet. So if I have 18.5 inches over 8, then we know that there are, in 1 foot, hold on, my conversion factor is 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. So since inches are on top, I'm going to put my 1/8 inch on the bottom, my 1 foot on the top, and when you multiply numerator times numerator, you're going to get 18.5 feet, because our inches will cancel, and when you multiply 8 over 1 times 1 over 8, you're going to get 1. So my radius is actually 18.5 feet. So when I go to do my area of my sector, I'm going to use A equals 1/2. My theta is 87 pi over 180 times my radius squared, which is 18.5 squared. So if I were to take my calculator, you do not need the graphing calculator to do this. An F calculator, scientific calculator would be fine. So let me bring this back up. All right. So what do I need to do? I need to say I'm going to say 1 times 87, that didn't work, go back, 1 times 87 times 3.14 times 18.5 times, and 8 squared means you multiply it by itself twice. That's my numerator, which is really large. So move this out of the way. So this is going to equal 193,495.855 all over 2 times 180 is 360. So now I'm going to take this and divide it by, divided by 360, and I'm going to end up with, I've got 259.71 square feet. Make sure your units are correct. So that is the area of just my sector. All right. Now we're going to do the arc length. And if you remember, arc length is A equals, no, it should be L. L equals theta times R. So in this case, my theta was 87 pi over 180 times my radius, which is 18.5. Put that in parentheses. So this is going to give us, I've got 87 times 3.14 times 18.5. So my numerator is going to be 5053.83, and my denominator will be 180. So when I divide this by 180, I am going to get 28.08. I'm rounding to the hundredths place, and this is going to be just feet because it's not squares, we're just going around the figure. So that is my 2D. Then it says convert the length of the radius, so I am working on a sloppy copy. All right, so as I'm doing this, I just wrote your project, so I'm trying to make the project. I'm editing it as I go. So if you're following along, this radius field conversion is actually step 2. All of this is actually step 3. And I apologize for that. But that makes more sense in the way that I had done the project to start with. All right. So now, number 4, I want you to find now the area of your circle. So the area of a circle is going to be A equals 1/2 theta r squared. So in this case, my theta is 2 pi because it's a whole circle. My radius is still 18.5. You too. All right, so if we look at this, these 2's will simplify. So really, on my calculator, all I really need to do is my 18.5 squared. And I end up with 342.25. So this is going to be 342.25 pi. Now we got to work with this. And when you go into Home Depot or Lowe's, you can't talk to them and include a pi. So we've got to come back here and we've got to multiply this answer by 3.14. So we cannot leave pi in our answers because this is an application. So I have 1074.67. This is area, so that means square feet. So that's how many square feet are in my landscaped area. All right, now we want to keep weeds from growing in our landscape circle, so we're going to lay down landscape fabric, and this kind of keeps the sun away from the weeds, so it's hard for them to grow. All right, so now I just want you to know that I'm using a fictitious I'm not using what's on your sheet because I want you to do this. So the fabric I'm buying comes in a roll that is going to be 6 feet, we'll say by 100 feet. If you use these dimensions, you will be wrong. You've got to look at your paper because they're different. All right, and 5A says we have to, so you've got this roll, and what happens is as you roll the landscape fabric out, you get a rectangle. And this rectangle is going to be 6 by 100. So I need the area of this rectangle. So the number of square feet in one roll is going to be 100 times 6, or 600 square feet. All right, in B it says calculate the number of rolls I need to cover my landscape circle. So if I go back to 4, that's how many square feet I have, and I've got to take my 1074.67, and I've got to divide it by the number of square feet in a roll. So when I do this, hopefully that answer is still there. Okay. Oh, yeah, it is. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide it by 600. All right. 1600. So I'm dividing it by 600 and I get 1.79. So I want to see this. So I know then that you did this. 1.79 rolls. Now you are not going to go into Home Depot or Lowe's and tell the guy I want 1.7 rolls of landscape fabric. So basically what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to buy 2 rolls. But I need to see this. If I don't see this and I just see this, you will not get full credit. All right, then on part C, I need to know how much it costs. So let's say that each roll, and again, this is not what's on the paper, and this is fictitious, each roll costs, since mine's bigger than what's on the paper, I'll say each roll costs $32. So if I want to know the cost that I'm going to have to pay in order to landscape, I'm going to take my 32, I'm going to multiply it by 2 rolls, and I'm going to get $64. But you see then, I've got to take my $64 and I've got to multiply by 0.07 because the state needs to get their part, and so they're going to charge us sales tax. So 64 times 0.07 means I'm going to pay $4.48 in tax. So if I take my 64 and my $4.48, I will have to pay $68.48 for my landscape fabric. All right, then in part 6, they're asking us for the circumference of a circle using radian measurements. Now, I specifically mentioned that we must use our radian formulas. So this is L is equal to theta r. Using 2 pi r or pi r squared is not going to work. So in a full circle, our radian measure is 2 pi. My radius is 18.5. So I'm going to say 2 times 3.14. That didn't work. 3.14 times 18.5, and I'm going to get, that means that to go around my landscape circle, it's going to be 116.18 feet. All right. Then I have 2 choices. I can use, and if you want to go on that web page, you'll be able to see what it looks like. I've got a terrace board, which is just kind of a black edging, and then there's a second one, which is decorative brick edging. All right, and again, I'm going off the grid here because I want you to have something different than what I have. So for me, I'm going to have black edging. And this black edging is going to be 4 inches by 15 feet. All right, and each roll, comes in a roll for 9, costs $12.37 a roll. Now, if you use this, these are not one of your choices. All right, so if this is how many feet, first of all, I'm going to have to I have to state what I'm going to use. You will either say the terrace board or you're going to say the argy. I have to calculate how many rolls that will go. Now, this is the deal. It's 4 inches high and it's 15 feet long. This is what's going to go around my circle. This is going to be sticking up out of the ground. So for part B, I'm going to take my 116.18 and I'm going to divide by 15, because this is how many feet I have, and each roll contains this many feet. So I'm going to go back to my handy dandy calculator, and I am going to take my actually I already have it. I'm going to take the answer from above, and I'm going to divide it by 15. This will tell me how many rolls. I'm going to need 7 point, and again I want to see the hundreds place, 7.75 rolls. Again, you cannot go into Home Depot and say I need 7.75 rolls, so we're going to round this up to 8 rolls. So now you have to calculate the cost including tax. So I'm going to say 8 rolls times 1237 equals. So I'm going to take 8. That's not what we did here. We're going to come back over here and say 8 times 1237. So this gives me, this is going to be by itself $98.96. But then we have to take our $98.96 and multiply by our sales tax. So I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to multiply by 0.07. And that's going to give me $6.93 in sales tax. So my total cost will be $98.96 plus $6.93. So I'm going to take 98.96 plus 6.93. So my landscape border is going to cost $105.89. All right, again, remember that when you are doing step 3, you must use the area and arcing formula that we learned in radian, the radian forms. Same with 4 when you're viewing an area, and again in 6. If you use the different formula, you will be deducted 1.